Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to yet another beer review. Today, my guest is going to be Rob of Hereafter. He just put out a really amazing album, and it's a real honor to have him in. So let's go ahead, as always, get that invite going. I need my glasses to see this kind of stuff. I'm going to get when I am old.
Hey man,
Oh,
how you doing?
good. How are you doing, Rob?
Good. Can you hear me all right?
I can actually. Am I good on
Awesome.
your end?
Yeah, loud and clear, loud and clear.
Awesome.
So what's new, man? It's been like a year
Oh
since
yeah,
we did our
yeah.
last one.
I know. Yeah. Everything. Yeah, one of those time periods for me. Pretty much everything changed work
Yeah.
wise and whatnot. So yeah, I actually own my own lawn care company now,
Oh
and
shit.
yeah, which is awesome. It's been really nice, and I'm a server and a brewer for one of the local breweries too. So
Oh
that's
wow. So you're
even
busy.
better.
So
Yeah,
you're a busy dude. You're a busy dude.
yeah, yeah. To say
That's
the
awesome
least.
though.
Yeah.
So when do you have time to just chill? Is this it? Like, or do you have any good weekend time or?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, honestly, I was talking to my brother-in-law about this the other night. I'm I'm on beach time. It may sound like I'm a really busy person, and I am, but I actually I'm kind of a night owl, so
Mhm.
I usually do get a really decent amount of time most
Nice.
nights to get a little break. And the business is small, so
Mhm.
I have like a week that there's a lot, and then
Mhm.
like this week I've only got a few yards to take care of, and I did them all today.
Nice.
So yeah, it's all just in the logistics and the planning,
Yeah, I
which
bet.
I
That's
do a
awesome.
lot of that.
That's awesome. I did a lot of landscaping, not very recently, but I used to do it a lot when I was in college, and
Hmm.
it definitely, I can honestly say it definitely definitely helped big time when we bought a house and started, cleaning up everything. Because when we bought our house, it was some old lady's house, and she didn't
Hmm.
touch it for years, so it
Yeah,
was a disaster.
I bet.
But that's awesome with the brewery too. So
Yeah.
what kind of beers?
So we try to do like traditional European style, stay true to the like original recipes, but we'll
Hmm.
do anything, anything
Cool.
from German Kolsch, the beer they drink like fish, all the way
Hmm.
up to heavy stouts, everything in
Nice,
between. Yeah, so we
nice.
do it all. And it was one of those deals where I took that job just to make sure I made enough money during the off season.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was like, I'll do this job a few months if I can. It's really fun. So if I can work it out, I'll just keep doing the job. But then
Yeah.
it ended up just working out for me. And now I'm
No,
brewing,
you
which
love it.
is awesome. Yeah. Yeah, it's
Hey, that's
super
all that
fun.
matters is you're doing what you enjoy, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in
So,
my early 20s, that's all I wanted to actually see if I could get to that point in life where I was doing the things I really do enjoy, do want to
yep.
do, and I suffered several years of making very little money, but it's finally all kind of paying off and coming together in a really nice way.
Yeah, that's such a good feeling too. Like I think
Hmm.
everybody has like that struggle where they're like, is this going to get better? And then they
Yeah.
look back on it years from then and it did get better and they're like, wow, I
Hmm.
made it through that. I mean, heck,
Yeah.
that's kind of like basically what my music's all about.
Yeah.
Just looking back on things that I was like, oh shit, I can't believe I went through that, or like
Hmm.
I made it through that. So like bring on whatever else comes.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. Have you listened to the album?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah, dude, I love it. It's just like, to me, I listened through it and I was like, this is just quintessential Hereafter. Big, big breakdowns, double bass. I couldn't get enough of the double bass.
Nice. Yeah,
Yeah,
I went a little bit crazy with it on this one.
I was so happy about that. Yeah, I'm honestly a really big fan of just epic drumming. So I was always like in high school.
Hmm.
This is like 2010s area, that area of time. It seemed like so many drummers didn't want to just go off for some reason. I was like, dude, somebody needs to do a band where it's like the drummer is the front man or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's tough too. Like when I was learning how to play drums, like I went through that phase where everything had to be so complicated and crazy and fast and like
Yeah.
big. And then like I hit this era where I was playing in a cover band with my dad and a bunch of, older guys playing classic rock and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And it taught me so much in that like I'm not here to solo.
Yeah.
Like I need to do what's best for the song. And then like when I started doing Hereafter songs, like I'm a drummer. Like I hadn't played guitar like my whole life. Like I had guitars, like I would mess around with them. Like when we were living in an apartment, I couldn't play drums there, so I'd
Hmm.
play guitar once in a while. But I really never played guitar. So like once I started Hereafter, like that was the challenge. Like basically taking the 20 or so years that I'd been doing drums and translating that into guitar and like, okay, no, I don't need to learn the big guitar solos. I just need to learn what's going to make the
Yeah.
song sound good and
Hmm.
like layer things. Like so that's really like my style when I'm writing is like what can I layer over top of this that's going to accent this or make it sound like that much better or give it that like note that's going to give the person a chill, like it's just
Yeah.
going to cut right through them. Like that's what I always go for.
Yeah,
That's like
dude.
my favorite thing about writing.
That's awesome,
So
man. Yeah.
like when I was writing the current album, This Life is a Beautiful War,
Hmm.
that actually, it's funny how that started. So like last year when you and I talked about my last album,
Yep.
two or three of the songs from this album were basically done already.
Okay.
I had finished In the End We All Become Stories in like March, April of 21 and uploaded that to DistroKid, had that all set and ready to go. And like I kind of just kept going. Like I was like, all right, well I'm not gonna just stop. I'm gonna keep if something comes out, great. So I wrote the first song I wrote for the album was Nowhere to Turn, actually.
Hmm.
The one that features Greg from Secret Gardens.
Yeah.
And I had that written. Actually, I had the file up just today. It was written on May 30th of 21.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so like the basis of that whole song was written like in May of 21, and then Greg was actually traveling. I know he was living in. I want to say it was Montana for the summer last year.
Hmm.
Um, he was in a national park working, and I had we had just gotten done doing that post everything big collab song to the
Right.
gates, and
Yeah.
I was like, I want to use this song for the next album, but I don't know what else I could do with it to make it sound like take it to the next step. So I was like,
Mhm.
I reached out to Greg and I was like, hey, like, would you be interested in adding something to this song? He's like, absolutely. He's like, but I'm so busy. So
Yeah.
like send it to me and I'll work on it. And like, when do you need it by? I was like, I don't need it until next year. Like, like you
Yeah.
can take your time with it. So like months went by and I kept writing and writing and writing. And basically the album, 11 out of the 12 songs were done by November. And in the meanwhile, like I'm good friends with Quinn from Sea Breather and JJ Pictures of Wildlife. I had them like I wanted I wanted to include them in the album as well. So I was like, let me see what Quinn wants to do with this song. So I had a song that turned into an introspection. Which funny story, the drums for introspection. I think it was no, it wasn't. No, it was the other one. So Quinn did introspection with me, and he killed it because I wasn't sure what else to do with that one either. And then with JJ from Pictures of Wildlife, we did Metanoia, which that
Hmm.
was the one I was just talking about. Funny story that those drums were actually meant to be the end of Farewell, My Friend.
Really?
And I wrote Farewell, My Friend in September. And I remember because I had just gotten a new pedal and I was messing with it. And that's
Yeah.
basically was like what motivated me to write that.
Hmm.
And it didn't have the epic ending. It was just supposed to be like a filler, and it was supposed to be like that nice like fade in, fade out, go to the next song. And I
Right.
wasn't gonna add drums to it. I wasn't gonna add anything crazy to it.
Yeah.
And then right around like Thanksgiving, I was like, I want to add something to this. So I ended up recording drums for it then. But the drums that I recorded for Metanoia were originally supposed to be for that. And I, for whatever reason, when I did it at that point, I just couldn't figure out what to put there.
Hmm.
So I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to turn this into another song and not waste like these recorded drums that I just did. Like
Right.
it's something I can use. And JJ and I have like this connection with Misery Signals, the band. Like that's like one of
Hmm.
our like influences. And so basically like you could hear a lot of Misery Signals in that song because it's like got that heavy, like, but it's also
Right.
got the melodic side. And he
Yeah.
added like he put the cherry on top of his part. So like I couldn't be happier with all three collaboration songs.
For sure,
Those are like
man.
my three go-tos every time. But I mean, I love all the songs, but
Yeah.
I was super psyched about all three of them. They're all great dudes, and I can't say enough about how awesome they are at what they do. Like,
Hmm.
and I can honestly say those three songs would not be the same without them. So huge thanks if they're on here. I see Jill from Oriana's on.
Oh,
What's going
shout
on,
out.
Jill? Shout out. I do plan on for whatever comes next. Continuing like that trend of having a few people on it. Like I
Yeah.
think that's really cool to do. I have a few people in mind for the
Mhm.
next round. Um, I have actually finished two songs for whatever comes next. But now I've kind of hit that wall where I'm like, all right, I've written three albums in 3 years. I just gotta chill for a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, and maybe pump the
um,
brakes.
yeah, because I don't want
Yeah.
to keep putting out the same thing and like it gets stale after a while.
Yeah.
I don't know, like between when I released Reminiscence until like I finished This Life is a Beautiful War, I was like on this huge wave of just writing. It's like
Hmm.
before I put out This Life is a Beautiful War, I had those three singles that I turned
Yeah,
into
that's
that little
right.
EP. Those were all like last minute things too. Like Resolution, that song I wrote on Christmas Eve, and it started out as a joke. Like I was like, I'm gonna see if I can write a sick breakdown with this, and it was like a
Hmm.
1 minute breakdown, and then that's what the breakdown is in that song.
Okay. Yeah.
and
That's
um,
awesome.
and then I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna try and turn this into something because this might be the heaviest thing I've written.
Hmm.
And I put stuff before it, put stuff after it, and a week later I was like, I want to put this out now because it's not going on the album. Like it's not gonna fit. It's already really freaking long, the album, and this is a little bit different than that. So let me put this out on New Year's Eve and call it Resolution. So that was like a really quick, like, hey, this is really cool. I want to get this out there. Um,
Nice.
and then Northern Lights, and then All We Have Is Now. Those were both written in the same weekend in November.
Wow.
And yeah, a lot of it happened. A lot of those, like all these songs happened between like July and November of last year.
Hmm.
And Northern Lights sat on my hard drive. So did all we have is now for like months before I was like, let me finish these and put them out. Do like a month, and then like lead it into the album.
Hmm.
And it worked out really well. I was really psyched about it. So all some really good songs that I'm proud of. But now it's like, what comes next?
Yeah.
What do I do?
Name it. That's the name of the next album.
Yeah, what comes next
What
is
comes
basically what.
next?
Yeah, so I've been kind of just chilling. We got a dog back in May, so
Nice.
that's been keeping me busy. We got a little corgi. He's been keeping our hands full.
Uh-huh.
So that's been actually a way to kind of get away from it for a little, take a break,
Hmm.
kind of revamp and figure out what I want to go next. I don't know if I want to go heavier, if I want to do something more ambient. I'm not sure yet. The two songs that are done, one of them is, I can honestly say it's more of like that Resolution style, like heavier.
Hmm.
And then the other one has its heavier moments, but it has more texture
Yeah.
and it's got like slower. It's hard to describe, but it's really cool. Um,
Hmm.
the goal is to take a little bit of a break for now, for I guess not the rest of the summer, but like maybe a month or so, and
Yeah.
um,
Just the
and
breather.
then yeah, and hopefully it just comes naturally. Like I don't like to sit and force it. Like that's when I start to come
Yeah.
up with really crappy ideas and I get really frustrated. I sit
Uh-huh.
down here, I'm like, why isn't this working? Um, but yeah, I don't know. Do you have any questions you want to? Oh, what's up, Glenn? That's G.S. Miller. I grew up playing in bands with him
Oh, cool.
years and years and years ago. Yeah, so he's a good dude.
That's
Um,
awesome.
thanks a lot, dude. Anything you want to talk about though? I'm
Well,
down for it.
cool. Thanks. we were talking about guitar. I don't know if I asked you last time, but how long have you been playing guitar?
Like officially playing guitar, only a few years.
Okay.
Um, Playing guitar and just like jamming in my apartment at the time, or like when I was growing up, my dad's a guitar player, so there were guitars
Okay.
all over the house.
Yeah. You've
And
been
so like
around
he
it.
gave me my first guitar, and so like it was one of those things that collected dust in my room for years because I wasn't really I was playing drums at that point.
Right.
And I wasn't really thinking I'm going to do a solo project when I was 16. I was thinking I'm going to be the next Travis Barker.
Yeah.
But I mean, things change, your ideas and your goals change. So
Yeah.
as I got older, like I played in pop punk bands. My friend Glenn, who's on here, him and I played in a metalcore band at that point. That was one of my favorite bands to play in. And as the years have gone by, I've learned that like being in bands is a lot of fun. Like I play in a band right now, in addition to Hereafter, called Attack the Palette, and it's with two of my good friends that I grew up with. But it's not
Mhm.
post rock at all. It's like
Yeah.
jam, like rock and roll. So it's fun,
Right.
but it's totally different. Whereas Hereafter is kind of like my secret little thing, like that I like to
Hmm.
keep to myself, and like I enjoy the style and like what I do with it. It's to me, it's the most fun is doing the
Yeah.
Hereafter stuff. Like I immerse myself in that.
Yeah. Right.
And I don't, and that doesn't mean I want to take away from like, the guys that I jam with. Like I love them to death. I love jamming with them and the music we make. We're actually trying to release some music this year, I think. So, it's been like 15 years. We've
Yeah.
been jamming and just like, yeah, we're going to release something. We're going to release something. And then it just never happened. But now that we have, we've all gotten to points in our life where we can make the time for it. And
Right.
we've been working hard at that. So that's something that might
Hmm.
come later this year. So
That's
that'll be
sweet.
cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, guitar. Sorry, I went off on a bit of a tangent there.
Oh, that's fine. No worries.
Guitar really came into play. I want to say in like 2017, 2018. That was um, that was when I was like, all right, if I'm gonna do this, I need to figure this out. And
Hmm.
then I was back then I was like, all right, let's just put a ton of reverb on this because I suck. And I was like, reverb just made me feel so much better.
Yeah. Right.
And that was actually why I was like, all right, I'm going to play post rock because I can hide all my
Yeah.
impurities with some reverb.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, and it ended up growing into something huge, not huge, but something fun and big.
Yeah.
And I know last year we talked about it a little. Like I met a really cool group of people, the Post Everything Collective, that big group.
Hmm.
That's how I met Greg, JJ, Quinn, Jill, all of them. And
Yeah.
all really good people. And like I think that was also a big motivator in terms of writing, because I was around it, like I'm
Yeah.
exposed to it in the chat like all day, like, hey, this person's writing, this is really
Yeah.
cool. Like it was just a really big motivator, just seeing everybody doing awesome stuff, and I was like, I want to do awesome stuff too.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
it's important to be around it if you really want to gain some steam,
shout out to
it
Peter
helps.
Peter Jenkins. That's Greg's drummer
Oh,
for
nice.
Steve Gar. Yeah, he's so good.
Yeah.
Good
Oh
stuff.
man, yeah, his last album he just released. Oh,
Yeah,
amazing.
blew me away. I couldn't believe it. I
Yeah.
love that. I listen to that album at least once a day right now.
Yeah,
Um,
I still do
yeah.
myself.
What are your favorite songs on that album?
Um, definitely Sunrise Joyride. I just
Okay.
I'm stuck on that song. It's
Yeah.
just so perfect to me.
Yeah. It's such a
Yeah.
cool fusion of so many styles. Like
Yeah.
that was the first song he showed us. Like he released, and I was like,
Hmm.
wow, this is awesome. I was like, this is totally opposite from Tundra, but I love it.
Right.
My favorite Skydeck. Skydeck.
Yeah, I was gonna
I'm
say that's
stuck.
right next in line.
Yeah, like Skydeck and Cathedral Trees, both of those
Yeah.
songs, especially the video for Cathedral Trees, it's hilarious.
Yeah, I know
Um,
it.
but like Skydeck, like the groove on that, especially at
Hmm.
the end, and it's one of my favorite drummers. Peter knows Joe Arrington. He plays with Royal Coda. He
Right.
played with a lot like Birds, Kirk Travis, all those bigger artists, and like the fact that Greg was able to get him to play on his album. Like when he told me that, I was like, wow, that's incredible. Like I was blown away by that because Greg actually was here at my house back in November, we did like a thing we joke around called Rob Fest. It's kind of like an inside joke kind of thing, but
Yeah.
it was Greg came, Josh from Thought Trials came, Adam from Moss Mountain came,
Nice.
Jason Kiesling, I hope I didn't butcher his name. He was here, and there's them. Oh, who else was here? No, it was just that. Yeah, because there was a few pictures we took. We jammed. It was so much fun.
That's sweet, man.
It was like the first time all of us meeting in person too, so it was kind of freaky. But it was actually really cool how it worked. Who showed up first? Josh and Adam carpooled from Buffalo. So they drove from Buffalo to Eastern PA, which was like 5 hours.
Yeah.
They drove all the way here just to hang out for the weekend. So that was really cool. And then Jason drove up from Maryland for the day. Like he drove up in the morning and went home that night. And like that's like 3 or 4 hours too. And then Greg's arrival was the funniest. He showed up. He went to go see the Fall of Troy that night on the Friday night that we all got together. And he drove from the Fall of Troy concert to my house from New York to Pennsylvania, which is like 2 hours or so from where he was, because I'm like an hour and a half from the city. But he drove from the Fall of Troy. He showed up at my house like 2 a.m, and it was like 30 degrees out. It was freezing. No. And like he's running from his car into my house with like, you know, like a mattress pad, his guitar, and like all this stuff. And like it was almost like because we all passed out, and like I got up to let him in because it was like 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Hey man, what's going on?" Everyone you've never met before is in the basement sleeping. So
yeah, right.
But yeah, it was such a cool weekend, and we want to do it again. And hopefully have more people, like, and without pissing off my wife.
yeah.
But it worked out perfect because my wife, her sister had a bridal shower that weekend, and they were away for the weekend. Perfect. So I was like, "Fuck yeah, I'm doing this."
Yeah, perfect timing.
But yeah, back to Greg's album. Like having Joe Arrington on that album is probably like incredible. I remember when he flew down to Tennessee, to Nashville to jam the album with him like a year before it was even recorded. And they were writing it, and I was like, that's insane. Like hanging out with him, just jamming with him, and like there for the week. Like that's so cool. But that's definitely one of my favorite albums of the year so far. That one and Sea Breather, the new Sea Breather album. I played drums on that album, but as an unbiased opinion, like that album's incredible. He put together some really great songs on that record. A lot of good releases this year.
Yeah, it seems like everybody's going to work this year. Everybody that I follow is like singles, whole album, doing shows and all kinds of stuff.
Oriana coming up in 2 weeks. She's got Jill. She's got an album coming out. I think it's the 15th or the 16th. That's going to be awesome too. And she plays bass in, and I'm going to butcher this name. I know it, but I think it's Hiroi, I think. That's a new band on Pelagic Records, based out of Philly, and she's the bass player in that band.
Awesome.
So they're really good. So if you haven't heard them, check them out. They got some.
I'll have to check them out, definitely.
But yeah, lots of good stuff this year. It's hard to keep up with at times, but since I like work from home, I keep a speaker on in the background all the time, so I just let it play all day.
Right.
So that way I can hear it. I'm like, all right, cool. This is a good song. But
turn it up a little.
yeah. So
that's awesome, man. Do you think you would ever do live shows?
I would love to, but it'd have to be like the right situation.
Yeah.
I need the right people to do it. That's not to say that I wouldn't want certain people in it. That's like I would never want to exclude people, but like it would have to be the right people that would just, you know, make the songs pop live. Like you want every part to come out, and I always, I mean, as a producer side of me, it's you make the production live, they're two separate things. But as the artist who wrote the songs, I want it to be as big sounding as possible live. And so like to do that, I would need like 3 guitar players. I would need obviously a bass, and then I would definitely need synth of some sort. So like I have people in my head that I would totally do it if that opportunity came about, but like the logistics behind it kind of
Yeah.
freaked me out because I'm like that would be a huge undertaking for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, for
Like
anybody, that would be a lot. That sounds like a
yeah,
lot.
kudos to like Greg and JJ and all of them
Right.
who've done it live. Like that's awesome. Like I
Yeah.
couldn't imagine trying to get that together and like the practice that goes into it and
Hmm.
like it's such a cool thing. Like I don't know. I guess when I started Hereafter, it was more so like I just want to release music that that's in my head. You know, I just want to get it
Hmm.
out there. Like if it turns into live, that'd be great, but I'm not counting on it.
Yeah.
But you never know. I'll never rule it out. I'll never
Right.
rule it out. So
Yeah.
if
It's
the
just gonna take
opportunity
a
ever
lot.
presents itself, I totally would do it.
Yeah. Man,
But
that would be sweet. Oh, that would be a good show
yeah.
with all those breakdowns, man. That
Oh my
would be
God, it'd be so
so
much fun.
fun.
It'd be so much fun. I'd make sure the light show is just like nuts. Like it would be
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. That would be a
That's like what
wild
I
time.
envisioned for it. Yeah, like I would want everybody to like visually experience it too. Like I would want it to
Yeah.
be like an experience. So
Yeah.
it'd be tough to do.
Yeah, right. Do
So
you I need to ask I need to start asking this question on every post rock episode because I always wonder. Do you listen to This Will Destroy You?
I have. I don't not as much as I used to. So I when
Yeah.
I was getting into post rock like years ago, you know, you go for the usuals
Hmm.
like Explosions in the
Yeah.
Sky, Caspian, This Will Destroy You.
Gateway drugs.
Um, yeah, basically, that's what kind of leads you into it, and then it's like when you go on YouTube and you find a video, and then you find another video, and then you find
Right.
another video. You just
Yep.
keep going down that rabbit hole,
Yeah.
and so like that's kind of how post rock is for me. But like growing up though, I didn't really listen to a lot of it. I listened to mostly like heavier stuff or like pop punk or emo or screamo, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
So like I have a lot of that background in it, and I know in some of the reviews that I've read that I've seen out there, like you could they pick up at that, which is really cool because like I don't see it when I'm writing it, but like the fact that people are like, yeah, this is like a mix of like progressive rock, post rock,
Hmm.
post hardcore, like some older genres, like
Right.
those are all my roots. So it's like, wow, that's really cool to hear. Like I'm doing it then. Like that's awesome.
Yeah, man.
Um, but yeah, This Will Destroy You. They're really good. There's one album. I'm trying to think what it's called. Oh, my phone's in front of me.
I know. I always have that problem too. I'm like, should have brought the
um,
computer.
I forget what it's called.
Is it
It's whatever the blue cover album.
another language?
Yeah, that
Oh,
album.
dude, that album
That
is
album's incredible.
yeah. It is
Incredible.
another language.
It is. It is. I remember
Hmm.
finding that years ago when before Spotify was even like a thing and Apple Music
Yeah.
didn't even exist yet. Like Spotify was just like the new Pandora at the time. And like
Yeah,
I
it
was
was.
trying it
Yeah.
out and I was like I was trying the free version. They're throwing these playlists at you that have like the same 10 songs over and over.
Hmm.
And that out or one of their songs was on it and I was like, this is awesome. And
Yeah.
then that's when I found like more of their stuff. But I haven't really gone back to them as much as I used to. I think one
Hmm.
of that I've always gone to is God as an Astronaut.
Oh yeah, they're great.
There's one album, it's an orange cover. I can think of the name, but I can't. But I'll have to message it to you later or something. Um,
Yeah.
Years ago, I would go on, like, because I live in a very rural backcountry area. So, like, I would go on long just cruises and just put that
Yeah.
album on and just cruise for hours, like just before gas was like $100 a gallon.
Oh, geez, you're telling me.
But like I would just go for a long drive and put that one album on, and it was just like, wow, I don't even need to drink or get high or do anything. Like
Hmm.
this album is it.
Yeah.
Like that was it. That album is incredible. Age of the Fifth Sun, that's what it's called.
Okay.
Age of the Fifth Sun. That's like
I should check
you got
it
to
out.
listen to it from start to finish. Like you just
Yeah.
got to. It's one of those albums you got to sit in like a recliner and just
Yeah.
just
Just
just listen.
experience it.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
it's quite the experience.
Yeah.
There was one other one that isn't really post rock, but it could be considered post rock, and it's actually got Chino from the Deftones in it.
Really.
And Deftones are like my biggest influence. Like that's like me to the T. So
Hmm.
like anything Chino, I'm there for it. But it's called Palms. So it's got the guys from ISIS, the band, not
Yeah.
not ISIS.
Yeah, I was like,
Um,
oh wait, yeah, that is a band. I
it's
forgot.
the guys from ISIS and Chino, and it's like the coolest record. Um, it's like 5 or 6 songs, but they're really long songs, and it is one trippy ass record. So
Yeah.
like, if you're looking for a really good like album that's gonna make you feel tons of emotions,
Hmm.
that album by Palms, like Palm Tree, Palms.
Okay.
Like that's what I highly, highly recommend that because like
All
Chino's
right.
vocals aren't like your standard singing. Like he kind of blends in with the music with it, which is so cool.
That is
So like
awesome.
that's what I love about like his style. He's my favorite singer, hands down.
That's cool.
So
I
yeah,
need to check that out then.
yeah, highly, highly recommend that one.
Yeah.
Um, that's one that as soon as I found it on vinyl, I was like, gotta have it.
Hmm.
So, but yeah,
Yeah. Uh, This Will Destroy You. I've always been a big fan of them, and I need them to make another album. It's been long enough.
yeah.
But they did a show. You're talking about like an epic light show. They did one show in this venue where the whole room is like, I don't know how they do it, but the whole room is lights.
No, that's insane. That's
Yeah,
probably quite the experience.
yeah, that's the point. So, and there's not even there's not somebody pushing buttons. It's like programmed to
It's
do
programmed to.
certain things
That's so
when
cool.
certain sounds happen.
Oh,
And so it just,
that's
yeah, it's
awesome.
on autopilot. Yeah.
I think Ross House, or however you say, they do that. And
Nice.
I'm kicking myself because they came like they toured the United States recently, and they don't
Yeah.
tour the United States very often. And I
Hmm.
was like, I'm gonna go to that, and then like life happens and you just forget.
Yeah,
And I was like,
right.
damn, that show was last week. Like I can't
Yeah.
believe I missed it, and I wanted to go see it. So
Uh-huh.
like I, as far as post rock concerts though, like shows, um, I have actually never really seen much. I mean, Moving Mountains was considered post rock back in the day, and I actually kind of knew the guys from Moving Mountains because I saw them so many times. Like I would just meet up with them. You start to know people,
Yeah.
and they were considered post rock, but they had vocals, so like that was always
Okay.
like the difference. I don't know if you've ever listened to them before. They're really good.
I don't think
Um,
so.
they were like an accident band. So like
Oh, yeah.
I actually heard the story from the singer whose name also happens to be Greg. Um, I forget when it was, but him and I were talking after a show, and they got they started the band when they were all in high school, and they got like this cult following online. But this was before like MySpace even existed. This was
Hmm.
like when you could just barely get on the internet. Like it was just like
Yeah.
blogs and stuff, and like
Yeah.
random like not even like Reddit. It was like similar stuff like that, and they got like huge,
Hmm.
like this cult following, and then they got picked up by Triple Crown Records, which was brand new, and all those bands. Um, and like they didn't even intend to turn it into like a band that they were going to tour, and then like
Yeah.
suddenly they were touring with bands like Thrice, and like
Oh,
they
wow.
were they were touring like the world, and they wrote 4 albums, and it was really cool because like if you listen to all the albums in a row like
Hmm.
consecutively, it's the cycle of life and death, like birth and death, like from the beginning to end, and you can hear it straight through. Like it's so hard to describe, but like when you get to the very last album, which is their self-titled one,
Yeah.
like you could tell, like this is it. This is the last of what we have to give. Like this is we're throwing it all at you now, and we're done.
That's
And
so cool.
I was so upset when they announced the album because I kind of knew,
Yeah.
like, I knew it was going to be completely different than the last three, and that like
Hmm.
this was it. And then they were done. So like they've done a few like reunion shows around Christmas here and there, and I haven't been able to get to one since. And I kind of don't want to because I saw their farewell show in Brooklyn, and it was probably the most incredible show I've ever seen. Because
Yeah.
like they knew they were done, so like they had
You just
more
put it all
motivation to play
out.
the best show ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, and it was so cool because like it was at this place called the Knitting Factory in Brooklyn, and we drove up. my buddies and I, and the place was sold out, but it was a small venue, but the place was packed. And like to see it from the outside, because like I'm not one to get like right up front all the time. I
Yeah.
love hearing it from the sound guy's perspective because that's the best sound.
Yeah, it is.
Right where he is. So like from seeing it, but you could see like just the crowd was experiencing like this concert, and I was like, that's what I want to do. And
Yeah.
that was before Hereafter. That was at that point I was playing in a post rock band that we didn't realize was post rock until after the fact.
Yeah.
Like it was accidentally a post rock band because we lost our
Uh-huh.
singer, and then we're like, let's just keep it as is. And
Yeah, right.
it never really released anything. So that was a big motivating factor for Hereafter. Was that band?
Okay. Yeah,
um,
moving on from that and
yeah, because like what was really frustrating about that band was like it was really good music,
hmm
and we had years and years of recording that we did that we never released.
yeah, I
And
remember
like,
I was listening today to our last talk and I remember you saying that
yeah,
you got all the files and we're working
yep.
on it and then it would fall through.
And it did again. Like
Yeah.
last summer, I think it was last summer or the summer before. I re-recorded all the drums for all the songs, like because I had my own setup and I wanted to do it
Yeah.
right. And we got like honestly, they're like 93% done. Like it just needs like that little thing, whatever it is, and then they'll be done.
Yeah.
I've said it so many times to both the guys, like let's just finish them and get them done. Like let's
hmm
close the chapter on this. Like we
Yeah.
don't need to keep writing. Let's just finish it and put it out. So
Right.
hopefully, maybe one day, we'll see.
Hopefully.
But
Long
I mean, those
awaited.
songs were really really cool songs too. So like
Yeah.
I would be super pumped if they were like, yeah, let's release them. I'd be like, yeah,
Yeah, that
I'd be
would
all
be
about it.
awesome.
So that would be the
Lost
closest thing
songs.
to a Hereafter show, like because that was a band. Like we played some shows and some really fun shows, but never released anything.
That's too bad.
So
Especially because you have it. It's just not.
yeah, like I literally have it on my phone, organized as an album, so I
Yeah.
can listen to it whenever I want. I'm like, God, I wish I could share this with people because like this is incredible.
hmm Yeah, that
So
sucks, man.
one day, hopefully one day.
One day. One day. So I wanted to ask a little bit about the album.
Yeah,
This
man, go
Life is a
for it.
Beautiful War. First off, very poetic name for
Yeah,
the album and the song specifically. How did that come about?
that's a tough one.
Yeah.
It came about, well, basically when I write songs, they're not named right away. They're dates.
hmm
They're
Yeah.
just dates, and they're just files by date. I'm like, all right, like one right now that I'm working on was 5/9/22. Like that's
hmm
just what they are. Eventually, as I get finished with songs, I start to think of like what emotion I was in feeling when I was writing it, or like when I
hmm
listen to it, how I feel, or like what it makes me think of. And that's like a huge reason why I love post rock because there's no vocals and like I can interpret it how I want. So like
Right.
that's what I was like, all right, well, let me see what I could do with this album in a sense that I can tell a story, my own story, but it could be a story that anybody can relate to and pull into their own situation so that it's not
hmm
like, hey, I'm telling you the story. No, this is my story and how I interpreted it, but
Yeah, right.
you can also do the same. And it kind of it lays it out for the listener in a sense that like retrospection is the end of the story. Like
hmm
the first song is the end. And
Yeah.
then the story starts with late night drives, it builds into weathering the storm and so on and so forth.
Like it
So like
unfolds.
yeah, so like you have
That's
from
cool.
late night drives to broken, tracks 2 to 11
hmm
is the story. And then like you have track 1 is the end, and then you have This Life is a Beautiful War is kind of like the same as the track, like the first track. It's like, but it's right before you're looking back on it. You're just finishing it, and you're like, wow, this all just fucking happened.
Yeah.
Like what just happened? Like that's the vibes I got from it when I was writing it. And I mean, I can honestly say this. I listened to it to the point where if I had it on a cassette tape, that cassette tape would have burned out. Like because like I truly love the album myself, and like as an
That's
artist,
awesome.
it's tough for people to say that as the artist because people are like, oh, it's just a song. But like I personally think like it's my best work, and like I'm super
Right.
proud of it. So like I was really nervous leading up to the release, because I was like, well, this is slightly different than anything that I've put out before, but it kind of has the same vibes. But like just in general, I felt like the songs were just more quality, and like they kind of pushed in the direction, in any direction, you know, like it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't just like a story laid out, like I said. The motivation behind the name was sometime last August, I had written Weathering the Storm, and I was literally in one of the worst storms, like physically, when I
Yeah.
thought of the name, because I was also going through a situation with some people, and I was like, wow, how fitting. Like the song starts out on like a happy note, and it's like, you know, joyful. It has like that energy, and then like it takes a turn and it just gets dark. And like that was literally what I was going through, like with these people, like it was, you know, everybody was happy go lucky up front, and
Mm-hmm.
then one day the true colors come out, and then
Yeah.
like I happened to be sitting in my house and the storm was happening, and I was listening to the song and my AirPods, just trying to like think of the mix, and like I was like, well, I'm happy with the mix for now, so let me start to think of like what this has me feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And like that was like the first thing that came to mind. And I had written And Suddenly We Became Strangers right around the same time. So like I knew those two songs could fit well together, one after the other. Um, at that point, I hadn't known what I was going to do for singles at first. So like the fact that those two became the singles was came later. It was one of
Yeah.
those like, well, I don't want to put the collab songs as singles because I want those to be like a nice little surprise.
Mm-hmm.
But I also don't want, and that was kind of the motivation behind 12 songs and like a really long lasting album. Is an hour, it's over an hour.
Yeah.
I wanted to have the three collab songs, but I also didn't want to take away from the album in a sense that I wanted it to have enough content that if I released singles, it wasn't just like the singles and then the collab songs. Like I wanted to have
Mm-hmm.
more. So, and actually, there's a song that didn't make the cut that I may try to rehash somewhere along the lines, but it was
Yeah.
originally the very first song on the album.
Okay.
And I wrote it in July, and that one was actually going to be called "This Life Is a Beautiful War." The one that turned into "This Life Is a Beautiful War" had a name that was like this long before, and I was like, no, we're
You can't
gonna
do
we're
that.
gonna put a kibosh on that. And
Uh-huh.
it was just way too long of a name. It was a cool
Mm-hmm.
name, and honestly, I couldn't tell you what it is off the top of my head at this point because it's been so long. But I just remember it was really long, and I was like, I like the name of it, but it's gonna be too long. So when I decided to cut the other song, I was like, I'm gonna put that name for this one, and it fit perfectly with the song, just how it sounded, and I was like,
Yeah.
that worked out better. But so I had 11 songs until November, and then I wrote Retrospection was like one of the second to last song I wrote for the album. Um, I randomly came up with the chord progression one day, and I was like, this sounds like an intro. I was like, and I really like this better than the intro that I have now, although the intro that I have now I really like too. So for a while there, the original intro was going to get pushed to be track two. And I was listening to it like that. And the more I listened to it, I was like, this doesn't fit. Like, this song is the outlier. Like, it's a good
Mm-hmm.
song, but it doesn't fit with the rest of this
Right.
mix. Like, it's, we're going to save that one for another day, maybe kind
Yeah.
of deal. um, and I'm trying to think. So Retrospection came out, and then at that point in November, I thought I was done with the album, and I was like, all right, now I got to wait because I just put out the other album.
You're right.
And I was like, it's only been a few months, and you know, in the age of streaming, things get forgotten and lost pretty quickly. So I was like, but I don't want to put it out so soon. So I sat on it for a while, and that's when I wrote Northern Lights on the other two. And then February rolled around, and I wrote Broken, and that came out of nowhere. Um, And I was like, I want to put this on the album. I don't want to do another single because I had just released Resolution Northern Lights. And I was like, I don't have anywhere else to put this unless I really wait until like September. So
Yeah.
I was like, I want to put this on the album. And then I was like, all right, well, where do I put it on the album? Because like I kind of already had an order established. Like everything was where it needed to be. And I was like, well, what if? Because I mean, the album is more of a hopeful album in a sense. Like it has its dark moments,
Mm-hmm.
but I was like, where do I put a song like Broken? Because that's a dark song. Like that song is dark straight through. Like it's nothing. There's nothing hopeful about it.
Yeah, yeah, it's a
And
less happy vibe.
yeah, so I was
Yeah.
like, where do I put this? And I was like, I know where I can put this right before the last song because technically the story is tracks 2 at that point through 10. I was like,
Hmm.
if I have Broken, that could be like the listener is right before the very end when they're reflecting on everything. Like the listener could be like, well, this whole situation has left me broken. Like this is it. Like this is it. But like I'm gonna get through it.
Yeah.
So like when I wrote that, it was kind of like, all right, do I put this on the album or not? And I'm really really glad that I did,
Hmm.
um, because that actually was one of my favorites if I had to pick out of all the mix. But I mean, it's really really tough to pick a favorite because I've listened to it entirely too many times, like an embarrassing amount of times.
Oh
like
man,
like
I do
it's
that too
bad.
with some of my songs that I've
You
got on
just
like
do it, yeah.
Bandcamp. Yeah.
Like I'll set it up like as I'm writing them in an order on Apple Music or whatever, and I'll even go as far as to like name them the way they're gonna look in Apple Music, just so I could see it and like visualize how it's gonna look when it's out, if it's out.
Yeah.
And basically from July of last, like as soon as the other album came out, and I kind of did the same this time around. I'm sure I'll come back to it, but as soon as the other album came out, I kind of just like cut it off out of my brain. Like I was like, all right, I listened to that album a million times, so like now it's on to the next thing. And I did the
Yeah.
same thing with this one, where like I obsessively listened to it while I was, creating it and mixing
Yeah.
it, and to the point where even up to like the week before the release, I was still listening to it like every day. And
Hmm.
I like I said, an embarrassing amount of times, but no shame whatsoever.
No,
And
man.
and then as soon as the album came out, it was like my brain was like, all right, we're done.
Yeah.
So and now I'm kind of like doing the same thing with the 2 new songs that I've been working on. Like there was a good week there where like that's all I listened to were those 2 songs over and over and over and over and over.
Yeah.
And I was like, these songs are really good, but I don't know what to do. Like I'm not trying to end up in a situation where I have an entire album done by fall and then like I'd like to release something next summer again, but not in June, maybe like July or August. But like I want to try and go like a good year
Yeah. An
until like
actual
the
full
next.
year.
Yeah, because like I had trouble doing that this time because like the last album came out on July 23rd last year, so like it hasn't even been a full year yet. It's been 11
Hmm.
months.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping this time around like I'm gonna slow down. Like I'm working on some collabs with some people. There's another big post everything collab coming through with another like 12-person one with a cool video.
That's good
So
to hear.
that's gonna be fun. It's totally different vibe than the last
Really?
big one. There's been a bunch of good post everything releases though since that one.
Hmm.
Um, like To the Gates came out in July, like right after my album, and
Hmm.
then I'm trying to think what else came out after that. I think there's 4 post everything songs altogether. So there's that one. There was the one before that that was Adam Dodson, Thought Trials, Jason. Who else was on that? Scale and Feather, and I want to say it was Moss Mountain. I forget. Forgive me if they're on here. If they're on this
They're
video.
coming for you, dude.
Yeah, they're coming for me. But then in December we put out Waning, which was like because it was
Yeah.
waxing and waning like the moon.
Yeah, right.
We put out Waxing. Waning was the first one. We put
Okay.
out Waxing in December, and that was me, Jason, Oldernar, Nick from
Hmm.
Oldernar, and Moss Mountain, and then Laurie from Aftermath. And I kind of accidentally got involved in that one because they wanted some drums for it, but like it was more of like this will destroy you vibe, like that kind of
Yeah.
post rock, and it was super slow. And I was like, all right, well I'll just add a quick straight beat to it, and like it turned into a really cool song. So that was a lot of fun. Most of them have
Awesome.
been like five person collabs. Like we've been doing that with the post everything stuff, and then there was one recently in May that came out that was Rubik's, which is Tom, Oldenar, Northern, Thought Trials, and I forget who else. They're gonna kill me.
Yeah. They're on
But
the way.
that was a really good song.
Yeah.
Called the Great Ascent, and
I don't know if
that was a good one.
I might have missed that one.
You should definitely
I
check
don't
that one out.
remember.
That's probably
Yeah.
one of my favorite ones.
Yeah.
But the one that's coming out, we don't have a date for it yet, and everybody's still kind of putting their videos together.
Hmm.
But I can tell you, it's 12 people. The song is wild.
Yeah.
I mixed it and mastered it, but like
Nice.
to put it together was really tough because like we were trying to do another big collab song, and I threw a drum track out there to everybody, and so there's two drummers. It's me and Dennis from At the Grove,
Hmm.
and he starts the song, and then his drums lead into my drums, and it goes really seamlessly, like
Awesome.
really seamlessly. Like it worked awesome. Like to mix it was tough because I have acoustic drums and he's playing on an electric kit, well,
Okay.
acoustic kit with electric pads on the top. So
Yeah.
like he had his set sounds and I had mine, and so I had a lot of blending involved, a lot of mixing involved to do that. And
Hmm.
then the biggest challenge though was you had 12 people, of which two were drummers, so you had 10 people who were all guitar players,
Yeah.
and they're all like, here's all these lead guitar parts.
Yeah.
do
Right.
with it do with it what you will.
Yeah.
So when I was putting it together, I was like, wow, this is incredibly difficult because like you had
Yeah.
people that were taking parts of the song, and like some people were doing the same parts of the song, so like I
Hmm.
had to blend like three different guitar parts to make it work, and it turned out really really cool though.
Good.
So I'm excited about that one. I'm hoping we can get that one out this summer. I
Yeah.
think we're still waiting on like four people's videos, so it's almost done. The song
Tough.
itself has been done since like winter, so
Okay. Yeah.
it's been
Just
a
gotta
long
get
time for
those
that one.
vids.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's tough when you got that many people.
Right. It's a
It's
lot of
tough with that many
schedules.
people. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like we try to keep it organized. Like we keep a spreadsheet that has everybody's timestamps, so like they remember their parts because
Hmm.
something we recorded like half a year ago,
Yeah.
and then you
Right.
got to do a video for it. You're like, well, I got to make it look like I know what I'm playing.
Hmm.
So that's a tough one.
Yeah.
But yeah, the post everything stuff's been that keeps me busy when I'm in a lull for writing. So like that kind of stuff
Hmm.
is really good for me. Um, when I'm not able to come up with something.
Yeah. That's great.
So
Do you know who does that page?
the post everything,
Yeah.
I'm one of them.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm
I'm like,
wondering if that's like somebody who
it's
loves
kind of a,
post rock and got something together, or
well, I could give you a history on that. Um, post everything started in, I want to say it was November of 2020,
Mhm.
but it wasn't post everything yet. It was Josh from Empires of Light.
Okay,
It was him and Jill from Oriana. They basically started it essentially.
okay,
So
that's
like I wasn't even planning on doing anything with Hereafter at that point. I put out Reminiscence and I was like, eh. I was like, I guess that's it. Like it wasn't anything crazy, and I was like, all right, cool. And then like a week after that, I met Jill. She wanted to do a collab song, and it ended up going on her last album. I helped her out with a few songs, and she brought me into the group. So at that point, it was like Josh from Empires of Light. It was Jill. It was Eric from that band Heroe.
Mhm.
Um, who else at that point? One of the guys from Coastlands was in it at the time, Jordan. But that kind of faded after a while. So it was really just like the five or six of us at that point.
Yeah.
And then it grew. It grew. It started out on this app called Telegram,
Okay.
and like it was just getting too nuts. Too many people. It was one long chat. You'd wake up to like 200 missed messages. It was nuts.
Yeah.
So we migrated to another app that made it a little easier to organize. But now, like, there's a lot of people involved. But we all talk like all the time and every day. It's really cool.
That's
There's
cool.
Adam. Adam Dodson's here.
Oh, what's up, Adam?
The
Thanks for
legend,
joining.
the legend of sound.
Yeah, no kidding,
Legend of
man.
sound.
Sunday
Um,
sounds.
yeah, I love.
They're
If
so
you're
good.
listening, Adam, I love your Sunday sounds.
Yeah, let's keep those going.
Yeah,
Keep them rolling,
but yeah,
man.
he's part of the group too.
Yeah.
So, but it's a really cool community, and I think it's done huge things for the genre
Hmm.
as like in general. Like I think it's promoted so much collaboration that didn't
Yeah.
exist before. Like
Right.
when I was doing post rock on my own, like you didn't see it like that. Like you didn't see, the community was always fun and really cool, but it was like they were never big collaborations. And like so like when Post Everything came around and did that one big collaboration, it was like it opened the door for
Hmm.
that to happen, and it basically told other people like, hey, it's cool, let's collaborate, let's make this a fun thing. And like to me, that was when it all started. Now you see it all over. Like you see, I think Post Rock Community did one. There's a bunch of different people just collaborating all the time, and it's so cool to see.
Yeah.
So
It's fun.
that's definitely been a game changer. And we did that Ukrainian relief compilation
Right. Yeah.
that raised over $10,000. Like that was insane. And like when we were doing it, we had no idea. We were just like, let's put this compilation together and see how we can help.
Hmm.
And like the first few days of it, like you could just, it was just like constant. Like I was blown away by the support that people were showing,
Yeah.
um, just for this compilation. Like it wasn't even, to me, it wasn't even about the music. It was just helping the kids in Ukraine and like all that crap that was going on over there, that's still going on over there.
Yeah. Yeah. Still.
But like to help and be able to raise, like to be able to raise $10,000 in like the better part of less than a month, like as a group of just musicians that do post rock, like that's incredible.
Yeah.
So like to be a part of that, that was really cool. And we had a lot of fun with that. That I give credit to Jason Kiesling for that, because that was he came up with the idea, and I was like,
Hmm.
yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Um,
That's awesome.
that was all his idea, but like the groups, like everybody stepped up, like everybody was just involved and made it happen, and it was such a cool thing
Hmm.
to do. And I hope we could do more things like that in the future. Like that was a lot of fun, to
Yeah.
be able to do that.
That's
But
cool.
yeah.
Yeah. I wonder how big the fan base is these days because, like we were talking about, explosions in the sky and
Hmm.
This Will Destroy You, Sigaros, and Mogwai, God is an Astronaut.
All
And
of them, they're the OGs.
they're the OGs, but the sound is definitely different now. And maybe the genre itself has a more detailed definition. Maybe.
Possibly.
I don't know. But
That's kind of the motivation for the name Post Everything, though.
yeah, okay.
Like that was where we kind of came up with it, because like you had people that were doing really ambient stuff, and then you had
Yeah.
people that were doing heavy stuff, and it was like a mix of like prog, post,
Hmm.
and so we just joked around. We're like, this is Post Everything, and then it
Yeah.
kind of just stuck, and it was really cool.
Yeah.
But I agree. I think the genre is completely different from the Explosions in the Skies, the Caspians, and all that.
Hmm.
Um, I definitely see a lot of people who come from different genres of music that were not involved in post rock doing post rock, but they're doing their own version of post rock, which I
Yeah.
love. Like I love to see that. Like it's
Yeah.
like, okay, no, people aren't writing the same thing over and over. They're doing their own thing and making it big, like making it
Hmm.
sound like a post something post.
Right. Post something.
That's what
Yeah.
I was like. Yeah, like it's post something, but
Yeah.
it's their take on it, which is cool. It's not like they're rehashing ideas from other people.
Right. Yeah. That
And
is.
there's so much of it out there. Like
Yeah.
every day I see new bands popping up on these pages, and I'm like, this is so cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty special. It's a pretty special little moment to see. Just it seems like probably a little bit of a takeoff for
Hmm.
whatever's next, but
Yeah.
yeah. It's interesting. The master brewer where I work, he's a big what is it, EDM fan.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was putting some of my, stuff like my post rock playlist on Spotify.
Hmm.
I threw that on one day, and he was like, "Man, I don't think I really understood, but a lot of your stuff sounds like my stuff. I think there's a lot of like back and forth inspiration
Connections.
going on."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, EDM. I never really got big into EDM, but I can tell
yeah, me
you,
neither.
like, there was one album in particular that I did get into, and it was Dead Mouse, the
Yeah.
artist Dead Mouse.
Hmm.
The album was called Random Album Title, and let me tell you, like, I connected so hard with that album at one point in my life,
Yeah.
because of the sounds in that album. Like it had elements that belonged in post rock, even though at
Hmm.
that point in my life I wasn't even really listening to post rock. Like that point in my life I was all over the place, but like it had sounds and things that, like what I was saying earlier, that would just cut through you and you're like, wow, this has a really cool groove and it has some really cool sounds. So like I have an appreciation for that, but then like
Yeah.
to dive into that genre, that's like going into post rock all over again. It's a
It's a
whole
whole
nother
thing.
it's a whole nother rabbit hole.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I'm sure like Dead Mouse is probably like EDM's "This Will Destroy You" or
Yeah,
Explosions.
more than likely, yeah. I mean,
Hmm.
I had never really even got too far into like his stuff. I randomly found that
Right.
album and I was like, this album is really cool. To this day, I still listen to that one like randomly because it's just got cool vibes to it.
Hmm. I didn't listen to that one. Maybe I should though. But whatever album came out in like 2012, where he just had the big logo on it, Black Album.
Yeah,
Yeah, one of my friends was so psyched for that. I didn't even know he
yeah.
listened to this kind of stuff, and we got we got the album from a FYE in the mall.
Oh man,
Yeah.
Fye, good times.
Oh yeah, man.
Were you did I don't know if you had this by you, but like before Fye, it was called The Wall. Did you
Hmm.
have that?
I don't think so.
We had in our mall here, and I think everywhere. I don't know. I could be wrong, but there was this place called The Wall, and that eventually turned into Fye.
Okay.
But The Wall, like you'd go there and you'd buy a CD, and it would be like 18 to 20 bucks. Like it was expensive as a kid.
Yeah.
But then you go to Best Buy and get the same CD for like 10 bucks, and like
Hmm.
that was like a game changer when Best Buy came around.
Yeah. 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 It's so funny. That's another funny thing,
Like how it's
comparing.
changed.
Yeah. I mean, I doubt that business is even in business nowadays.
I mean, there's a few Best Buys like nearby here still, but they basically just sell like appliances now and like
Well,
phones.
yeah. I mean,
Like no,
FYE.
oh yeah, Fye. I haven't seen an Fye.
I haven't even heard about one in 5 years at least.
There's a Fye in our mall, but they sell like a lot of movie stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you're a music, uh, if you sell music and it's like 2012, you
Hmm.
probably got to figure out something else. You're
Yeah, my
selling
buddy Glenn just
CDs and
said sell
stuff
them
like
all.
that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I you know what's funny is I have CDs pressed for this album, so eventually I'll probably put them up.
Nice.
Um, but getting vinyl, like that's expensive. So
Yeah.
like I wanted to do something physical with the album, but I was like, that's going to be really hard to do because I'm funding it myself. So it's like
Hmm.
if I do vinyl, A, it's going to take 2 years to ship, and B, it's going to
Yeah.
be insanely expensive for me to do. So I'm not going to do that. So I did some CDs, so hopefully I'll get those out there eventually. I
I'll
just
buy
gotta get the
one.
time to do it.
Yeah. I
Gotta
still
get the
love
time.
buying stuff like that. I don't
Yeah,
care.
I'm the same way. Right behind my phone, I have two stacks of CDs, and then I have a
Yeah.
huge stack of vinyl.
That's awesome.
But
So basically, what needs to happen in the future is a post everything festival.
that was kind of like what Rob Fest was like
Oh yeah.
in like as a joke. Like they're like, yeah, we're gonna do Rob Fest. We're all just gonna go to Rob's house and we're just gonna jam there. And I'm like, well, it's like we could do that, but we might run out of room.
Yeah.
But we would I mean we've all joked around and talked about like how cool it would be if we did a post everything fest and we all played each other's songs. Like that was something we talked about, like it'd be
Yeah,
cool.
yeah,
Like
that would be
I
crazy.
know there was a conversation like last year and I don't even remember like what was said. I just remember it was like what would the set list be if we
Hmm.
combined everyone's material.
Oh, that would
And
be so amazing.
like if you combine like, you have Secret Gardens, you have Pictures of Wildlife, Darkfield, Hereafter, Moss Mountain, you have Empires of Light, like you have everybody just coming in, like you have Grey Bloom, Aaron Malone, you have all them, and it's like all in one set.
Hmm.
That would be wild.
That would be
That'd be wild.
legendary, man.
That would be like honestly, that'd be the coolest thing.
Oh
But
yeah.
It would
I
be
would
so
find a
so much.
way.
Oh man, if there's ever a way to do it, I would totally do it.
No, I mean,
Um,
like, if that ever happened, I would find a way to get there wherever it happened.
yeah, I don't know where it would be. We'd try. I think we'd probably want to do like a centralized location for everybody in the group, because like
Yeah.
we're all so spread out. Like
Hmm.
I'm in Pennsylvania. I think the closest person to me is Jill from Oriana because she lives like an hour south of me.
Okay.
So we've met up a few times and got lunch.
Yeah,
But
that's cool.
other than that, I think Greg, he's next closest. He's up in Rhode Island now though, I think.
Hmm.
And everyone else is either in like New York or Portland, or overseas.
Yeah.
Everyone's really far away, so it's tough. But that's what I think makes the post everything group like a lot of fun is that there's a lot of culture.
Right.
Like I've learned so much about other cultures just by talking in that group, which is cool. So
Yeah. That is
it's
pretty
been a lot of
sweet.
fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, if there's ever a post everything festival, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
It'll
Oh
it'll
man.
it'll happen in like 2060.
Yeah, well, I'll still be there.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll still
Wheelchair
be
and
there,
all.
man. I don't care.
Yeah, I would love to do that. That'd be so much fun.
Hmm. That would be amazing. Oh my
Good
gosh.
times.
Well, that's a good chat. I don't
Yeah,
think I
man.
really feel like I'm running out of steam. I'm
Yeah, man. You
talking
tell
so
me if
much
you.
more than ever now that I'm a server, and I love these interactions and like talking with people on a personal level, but I've never
Yeah,
done
man.
it like week
Yeah.
after week.
Oh no,
Yeah.
I hear you. I hear you. Yeah, when I was in school, I did a lot of that kind of work. So like,
Hmm.
it was exhausting. So I totally get it. It's
Yeah.
like, especially when you're in college, it's like you do that all day, and then you come back to your roommates, and they all want to do social
Yeah.
shit. And you're like,
Right.
damn, like I was just talking to people all day.
Yeah.
So,
Just put some earbuds in and lay in bed.
yep. That's
Yeah.
actually what I would do. Like when I was in school, like at the end of the day, if I got home late, I had a roommate that was like always studying, like always studying.
Hmm.
So like I always had the place to myself, which was really cool. And I had
Right.
this sound system, and I would just sit there and listen to like DJ Shadow all day, like just random beats and stuff. And I would just be
Yeah.
like, "This is what I need right
Uh-huh.
now."
That's awesome.
Yeah, good stuff. That
Yeah,
that
man.
that that's another big influence is that one DJ Shadow album, Introducing. I
Hmm.
love that album.
That's
If
cool.
ever, like, I think that was one of the first albums to ever be created solely off of samples.
Hmm.
Um, but he did it. I want to say, and I don't know this for a fact. So if anybody listening knows, and I'm saying wrong things,
Yeah.
forgive me. But from what I've read, he put the whole album together with samples, not digital samples. They were samples from records. So like that's how he recorded the whole album, and it's seriously one of the most impressive albums I've ever heard.
That's
So
sweet.
I got a lot of suggestions for you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I love it though. Send them, dude. I'll
Yeah,
definitely
I got
check
tons of
into
music suggestions.
some of this stuff we've been talking about. That reminds me though, I did want to see how it was going. I know you last time we were talking about maybe getting into producing other bands,
Yeah.
and there was the one, I forget their name, but they put their first album out on
Hmm.
Halloween night last year.
Yep. First
Uh,
watch. First watch.
yeah,
Yeah.
First Watch. Yes.
Yeah.
Have
Yeah.
you done any
I've been
more with
having
that?
some.
Any more producing other people or?
Yes, kind of. I finished with First Watch, and then they put their album out in October, and
Hmm.
then I kind of did my own thing for a while, and I've done some mixing for people like that didn't come here, like they've sent me the files,
Hmm.
um, but I'm working now with a band called Foxtrot. They're a local band, um, influenced by like Dance Gavin Dance, like that style of
Hmm.
music. Um, I haven't seen them in a few weeks because everybody's really busy, but I think next Sunday we're getting together again to finish a song. So I've been producing
Nice.
them. They're really good. I like their stuff. It's like Dance Gavin Dance, but with more like an R&B style to it, which is kind of cool.
Yeah,
Um,
that's
but
interesting.
I'm curious. I'm anxious to see how it turns out. I mean, I have a couple tracks that we worked on that musically are basically done, just need some vocals.
Mhm.
So they're working with me. I kind of slowed down with it for a while too, because like I was stretching myself really thin with some stuff. Like last year I did a lot of collaborating with people, so like I was constantly working, and I'm kind of doing the same, and like I enjoy doing that. Like I enjoy like helping other people out with their stuff. So like if it
Yeah.
means I'm not going to produce other bands, then so be it. But I'm going to finish it out with Foxtrot and just keep going as it comes, you know.
Yeah. That's
Do
cool.
not try to get too crazy with it, but
Yeah.
um, it's definitely something that I enjoy doing for other bands that need to record, because
Mhm.
when I grew up, recording was always such a hard thing to come by and like
Mhm.
expensive. So like as a younger person that didn't necessarily have a lot of money back then, like we would always go to this. There was this studio like an hour away from us that was this big dome, this guy's house, called
Uh,
Dan's House Studio, and like it was $300 for an 8 hour block, and for a band to split that wasn't terrible.
yeah.
So like that's kind of like what I try to do, is like not go insanely expensive with it. Like if somebody wants to record with me, like I'll tell them like, hey, I'll work with you on a price. We'll build a budget and we'll figure it
Mhm.
out.
That's cool.
Yeah, Glenn, my buddy Glenn, who's still here, he remembers Dan's house. Like, and it was a cool experience though as a kid going to those studios, like that studio in particular, because like it was that experience, and you're like, wow, this is cool. We're in a studio and we're
Mhm.
not paying a fuck ton of money. Um,
Yeah.
so like when I built mine, I was like, I want to do something like that so that if people do record with me, it's not like they're worried about the budget the entire time.
Yeah.
Like let's make music, let's make something cool, and then like we'll figure out the money. Don't worry
Mhm.
about it. Like I'm not
That's
gonna obviously do it for free, but I'm not gonna also be like, hey, this is gonna cost you $1,000,
yeah.
because like that's not cool. Like especially
Right.
because it's local bands and they're just trying to have fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Just
So
coming up, seeing what
yeah.
happens. Hmm.
So yeah, I mean, First Watch was definitely the big experience for me. That
Hmm.
was a lot of fun though, like working with Mark and Davey. It was just two guys, that band. It's just Mark
Okay.
and Davey. So Davey does the drums and Mark does everything else. And live, um, it was really cool. I got to see their album release party, and that was really cool because like they grew up north of where I live, but they both now live towards Philly, which is a little further away.
Hmm.
But their families are all still up here. So
Okay.
Halloween, I wish I had pictures of it because I took video and I sent it to him, and I don't know if I still have it. But Davey's dad is like really obsessed with Halloween, like to the point where he has this
Yeah.
really huge setup in the backyard, and it's all under a huge tent. Like it was
Hmm.
really cool. Like you walk in, and it's like you feel like you're in a haunted house, like that you would go through on Halloween, but it's not really like scary. There's just like figurines.
Yeah.
And like you walk all the way back and it's like this huge picnic area, and then like they set up a stage in there, and it was all in like this
Nice.
whole tented area, so like it was so cool.
That's
And
awesome.
that was their release party. So it was Davey set up, Davey played drums, and I gave them all the tracks to their songs without vocals and drums so that they could play as a
Hmm.
backtrack. They'd have guitars and bass and all that so that Mark could focus on the vocals.
Okay. Yeah.
And I was skeptical because I was like, well, it's just drums, a backtrack of everything else, and
Yeah.
vocals. So I was like,
Yeah.
this could go either way.
Yeah. Right.
And it was incredible. I couldn't believe it. Like
Good.
my wife and I both went, and they played like 6 songs off the album. I mean, they had everybody there. It was so cool. They had a lot of people there, and the show itself was like, I was genuinely impressed, like how good it sounded. I was like,
Hmm.
well, like you have this small PA system that who knows how good or bad it's going to be, like, and
Yeah.
it's going to be playing all the music plus the vocals, and then you're going to have
Hmm.
these loud drums like in a small enclosed area. Like this could go wrong,
Yeah.
but they crushed it, and it was so awesome. So,
Good.
and I just got done talking to Mark a few weeks ago. He wants to do a collab with me. He wants to add
Nice.
vocals to Resolution.
Oh man, that would be
So,
sweet. Yeah.
so him and his buddy, who's also a vocalist, I guess, are writing or have written already something for Resolution.
Hmm.
It's just a matter of getting together and seeing what it all sounds like and recording it and putting
Right.
it, just doing it. So one of these days he'll probably make his way up here and we'll do it. He brought it up to me back in May, and I was like, that sounds like a solid idea. Like that could be something I release separately in like the fall. Just be like, hey, threw this out there. It's got vocals now.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be really cool.
But yeah, because he did that one song with me on my first album, Pray for
Right.
Rain.
Mm-hmm.
So
I love that song.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun doing that with him.
Yeah, that would be
That's
awesome.
how him and I really connected. Like I knew him from he's a tattoo artist.
Okay.
So I've known him from that. Like he's done a few of my tattoos, and he was working at the local shop. Now he's his own freelancer. But so like that's how we met. And then like I sent him the song, and he's like, I want to do vocals on this, and I was like, damn, let's do it. And then that's how I got introduced to First Watch to do all that.
Okay. Yeah.
One thing kind of came from the other. So,
Right.
yeah, I mean, that was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun doing that. And I'm really happy with the way their album came out because, like, while I was recording it and we were working, it was like a good year that we worked on it. Based because we all have schedules and everything. We weren't working consistently every day.
Right.
I learned so many different ways of recording and producing just from that experience because, like, I would try to implement things that I learned as I was going, and then we'd go to another song or finish another song, and then I'd come back to mix it and I'd be like, wow, what was I thinking? Let me do it this way now. And it's a whole different way.
Yeah.
So like by the end of everything, like I was like, wow, like I learned so much. Cause like, if you listen to the singles that they have out, those are some original recordings from like way back. And then if you listen to those same songs on the album, they sound like miles better on the album.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I mean, they're all great songs, but I just feel like the quality sounds better on the album because like that was the most recent version of it, you know?
Right. Yeah, I'm gonna need to check them out. I remember because we always just talk so much about bands, like
Yeah.
bands we know, bands we don't. So you know, I walk away like last time and this time again. I'm like, oh, dude, there's so much. There's just so much to listen to.
And that's like never ending. Like that's how it is
Yeah,
for me.
right.
Like I used to get overwhelmed by it. Now I just keep like a growing list in my phone. I'm like, all right, when I run out of things to listen to, here's that list.
Yeah. Yeah, I should
So,
probably do that too.
yeah, there's so much music out there anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, it's awesome, and it's just kind of unbelievable that
Yeah.
like I don't know, man. It's so cool that there are so many musicians who really are putting songs and albums out. But it's also like if you went back even probably just 20 years, nobody would have thought there were this many musicians out there who could put out actual legit songs.
Yeah. Not just that too. Like I think part of it for me, and I kind of miss this, like streaming is great because you have everything at your fingertips whenever you want it. I love it, being able to just open up my phone and be like, let's listen to this song today.
Yeah.
That being said, I miss the days where you'd go to the store, you'd buy a CD, and that was the CD you listened to for like the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like, that was it, unless you borrowed something from somebody else or like that was it. And I feel like people appreciated music more back then than they do now. Because like I said earlier, it's a very quick like, oh, great, new album, let's forget about it.
Yeah.
Like that's how it is now, honestly.
Yeah.
Which kind of sucks at times, but I totally get it because it's like people are putting out music so fast, and it's just constantly growing.
It's so hard to keep up with.
Yeah.
And like it's like that with everything. TV shows are the same way, you know. You talk to 3 people, you get 30 different TV shows that you should go home and watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's a wild world.
It is.
with all this technology. It's just crazy what's
absolutely.
possible and just how much there is out there.
Oh yeah, it's insane.
Yeah.
Insane. Like in a positive way, like what a time to be alive.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. I mean, it's definitely a two-edged sword, but the positive edge is pretty wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't imagine living without the things that I have now, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
like I'm from that lost generation that didn't have a cell phone till like 18. So like but I don't remember what it was like because I'm so used to
Hmm.
having one now that it's like if I don't have it on me, I'm like, where's my phone?
Hmm. Yeah, I know what you mean. I'm at the tail end of that era. Uh, I didn't get a phone until I was like 13 or 14, which is, I mean, in my opinion, that's still maybe a little young to have a phone.
Now you
Well,
got
in
8-year-olds.
today's world, back then, maybe not, but in today's world with, you know, the what you can do with a phone, maybe wait a little longer. I don't know. I'm still thinking through how that's going to play out with my family, but yeah, and but then it was like we had to watch your minutes,
Yep.
and it was really annoying to text with the
Oh yeah.
TI system or whatever it
Yeah, you had
was.
to push 3 times to get the letter S.
Yeah, I know, to get one letter.
I
Yeah.
remember getting my first flip phone, and
Hmm.
when I was at the store, I got it, and it was like this Motorola phone, and texting wasn't even really that big yet at that point.
Yeah.
And I remember it was $30 a month for everything, and it was when they used to give you a free phone if you signed up.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I remember, and actually, if he's still here, my buddy Glenn, I remember driving to his house right after I got it, and I was like, "Who needs texting? I'm not going to get texting." I was like, "I'm
Yeah.
never going to use it. Like, why would I text?" And then I remember getting to his house, and then like somehow on your phone, I guess back then you could upgrade something. I was like,
Hmm.
"Oh, I'll buy 100 texts for the month. See what I do with it." And then like all of a sudden, it was like I was texting, and I was like, "Holy
Yeah.
shit!" It's like, and now you look at it, and it's like, "Holy crap!" Like that's how everybody communicates now.
Yeah. Yeah. People
It's so
get mad if
crazy.
you call them. Don't call me. Send me a text message. Yeah.
Seriously, seriously.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah. It's so crazy, man. I'm glad that I developed, for the most part, like childhood development
without it,
was without all this.
yeah,
But just like you, like I can't imagine not being able to do what we're doing right now,
yeah, yeah. This
or
would be
like
unthinkable.
go on Instagram and find all of you guys and tons of other
Yeah.
cool people and bands. Like such a
The only
different
way to
world.
find music back then was like word of
Yeah.
mouth. Like, or you got
Hmm.
those compilation CDs at like Warped Tour
Yeah,
that
right.
had like all those bands, and you're like, oh, I never
Yeah.
heard of half of these bands. Cool.
Hmm.
But like, that was it. Like, you didn't have suggestions in your phone or like
Yeah,
Apple Music or Spotify or any of that
right. Yeah,
craziness.
it's awesome though. I do love this. I do love all
Yeah.
those aspects
Oh,
about
yeah.
what we're
Yeah.
seeing.
This kind of stuff's always awesome.
Yeah, it's fun. Well, I think that's probably a good note to end it on.
Yeah, man.
So,
Hey, whenever you want to chat, let me know. I'm always
all
down.
right. I appreciate you coming on again. This was fun.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it's always a
Anything?
good time.
Thanks, man. Yeah. Anything you want to shout out other than just the album, or?
Yeah, I mean, check out the album. It's been out for a little over a week now, getting some good reception. Shout out to my buddy Glenn, who stayed on the entire time.
Awesome.
Him, I haven't seen Glenn in years, and I'm sorry for that, buddy. We gotta get together one of these days soon. And
Glenn needs a trophy. That is actually the first time that somebody has hung out the whole time.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Especially because these are, these get kind of long, which is not a bad thing. It's always good to have a long conversation.
Yeah, that's my
Yeah, hell
style.
yeah,
I like the long form. I don't
yeah,
want to like try to get through a bunch of stuff in 20 minutes, and
yeah.
I
That's
don't
yeah.
care
I'd
if
rather
it
just
hinders the viewership.
Yeah, exactly. You get all the information you want. You have a good conversation.
Yeah.
That's all that matters.
Yeah. Of
But yeah, I mean, thanks for having me on, man, and
course.
spread the word about the album and enjoy
Oh yeah.
it. Listen to it how you listen to it and interpret it in the way you'd interpret it. That's how I always tell people to listen to it. Don't
Awesome.
think of me with it. Think of your situation and how you can apply it to you.
All right. Yeah,
So,
you heard it
hey,
here
man.
first, everybody. Play it to you.
Yeah. All right, buddy. Well, I
Cool.
appreciate you having me on, and have a good rest of the night, man.
All right, you too. Have a good night. I'll see ya.
See ya.